we're here today. We're here today at the Henry Carter Hall Library. It is Monday, October 4th, 2021. And today we have Michael John Valenti, a veteran who lives in Clinton, who's going to be part of the Stories That Veterans Tell project. So I'm so happy to welcome Michael here today. And Michael, can you begin at the beginning of your service?
Absolutely,
okay.
yes.
And if you want to talk to the camera, if you want to talk to me, whatever feels comfortable to you.
Absolutely. Maybe occasionally I'll glance over
Okay.
to our audience
Okay.
as that will go, but I'll direct my attention to you. My military story begins on January 28th, 1969.
Okay.
I was drafted, and it was a memorable day because it was the day before my mother's birthday, and she was a little disappointed to see me go.
Yeah.
But Dad put me on a train. At the time, I lived in Stamford.
Okay.
And got on the train from Stamford up to New Haven,
Okay.
where I was inducted into the Army.
All right. Was that on Chapel Street?
On Chapel Street, that's
okay.
right, yes.
Very good.
So they put me through the process there, and I remember that when we were all assembled for our oath, that the sergeant in charge said, "I've got good news for you guys." Well, what possibly could be good news? He said, "In 4 days we start drafting into the Marines. You guys are going Army."
Okay.
So-
and that was okay with you?
That was okay with
Okay.
me. Marines are the first guys in,
Yeah.
and I had heard that.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy thing to be a Marine, as opposed to, the Army is tough,
Yeah.
but not as tough as those guys.
Did you go with anyone you knew, or were you?
No.
No.
They were all Connecticut guys
Mhm.
that showed up there, and we eventually got on buses, and all of our group was taken down to Fort Dix, New Jersey,
Okay. Good.
and for our basic training.
What do you remember about basic?
Basic was a real eye-opener, that a very heavy amount of PT, physical training,
Yeah.
and exercises every day, and things that were really getting you in good shape.
Yeah.
And that's what it was all about, no matter what duty you were going to pull. So we got through basic training, and because I was, I guess, put in a group of servicemen that were eventually going to end up overseas in some combat areas, we didn't know yet, didn't get orders
Yeah.
yet, but I did my advanced infantry training called AIT
Yeah.
at Fort Dix as well.
Okay.
And they said, well, we're going to teach you some jungle tactics.
Now,
and
how did
training.
they manage that?
Poorly. There's nothing like being on the beach in Jersey when you're getting training to go into the jungles of God knows where. So I did the second set of weeks,
Yeah.
the 8 weeks that I did to get trained there. And then orders came in. They said, Private Valenti, you're going to Vietnam.
And did you get time off between?
Exactly. They did give us time off
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
a few weeks to say goodbye to your family, and you're off to
Yeah.
wherever.
Was that
for
the
a
first
year.
time you'd been away from home?
It had been.
Okay.
Yes. Short trips away,
Yeah.
but nothing. of
Nothing like that,
No,
no.
nothing like that.
Where did you fly out of? Where did they?
They had us fly out of first out of New York on a jet, and then over to Seattle, and that was our departure
all right.
place. Fort Lewis, I believe,
Okay.
in Washington State, and that was an interesting trip to get out there. Seeing a lot of guys that were not happy, that were pulled out of all sort of walks of life.
Yeah.
And
What were
then,
you doing before you were drafted?
I was a student.
Okay.
I was a student.
Now, how did? Yeah. One of the few that.
One of the few that was going for his college education, but to make a long story short, I was transferring from Fairfield University to Sacred Heart University, and technically over Christmas, I was not in school.
Oh, wow.
And I called all of the commanders on up to the head of the state, and he said, Michael, we got you, on a technicality.
Yeah,
And I went in.
and you went in. When you went across from New York to Seattle and so, were you all of the,
All military.
but were you all in civilian clothes at that point?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right, and so then when you got to Seattle,
We
did you
got
get in
into
a
the
big car?
uniforms of where we were gonna
Oh.
be distributed to.
Oh, okay.
Some to Alaska, some to Japan, some to Vietnam.
Wow.
And we stopped over in Hawaii on the way over. There were thoughts of jumping off the plane there.
Oh
Yeah,
my
never
God.
been to Hawaii,
Oh, wow.
but you
Yeah.
were kept in the air,
Yeah, yeah.
as that would go.
And where did you land when you got to Vietnam? Did everybody come into the same place?
Everyone came into the same place on my plane,
Yeah.
and we landed in Cam Ranh Bay in July of '69.
And so hot, steamy.
Not too bad yet,
Okay.
yes, but it was hot and steamy.
Okay.
But we weren't really doing any duty yet, so
Yeah.
we were there for a week or so to get acclimated
Yeah.
and distributed to our points where we were going to be pulling duty.
Yeah. And where did they send you?
It was an interesting trip there as well, where it wasn't a direct shot to where I ended up.
Oh, okay.
I was assigned to Chu Lai, which was the Micheal division, which if you divide Vietnam into 3 sections, going north
Yeah.
to south, I was in the bottom third of the upper third,
Okay.
okay? And that's where Chu Lai was.
Okay.
And we were assigned there, and then I said, well, this is where we're gonna be. He said, no, you're not there yet. And then we got on helicopters, UH-1H Hueys, and flew down to 11th Brigade, which was right at the bottom of the top third of
Okay.
Vietnam, South Vietnam. And got off the chopper there at Brigade, and we were in a little town called Duc Pho, which was the rice capital of the world
Interesting.
there.
Yeah.
And that was going to be instrumental in my duty when we get to it. That's Brigade now. And I said, well, this is where we're pulling duty now. And he said, no, you're not there yet.
And so there's a big mystery.
A
They're
big mystery.
dangling you as
Now
this-
these bases are getting smaller. So they put me on another chopper, and they said, we're sending you out to LZ Liz, which was a few miles out in the middle of where Duc Pho did a lot of production for rice. So we got to the LZ Liz, and you're triggering a lot of memories in me at the moment
good,
too, so
good.
which are good to a degree. Not all great, we don't have to get very gory about this, but as we got to LZ Liz, that was Charlie Company, 1st to the 20th Infantry. So I said, is this where we're gonna be? He said, well, you're gonna be here about 3/4 of the, you're gonna be here 1/4 of the time, 3/4 of the time you're gonna be in the bush.
Really?
Yeah, so we got a week to stay on Liz, get acclimated,
Yeah.
and then we went out in companies. Charlie Company, 3rd Squad, 1st to the 20th, 11th Brigade, Micheal Division.
Wow.
So that's where I pulled my duty for that year.
Now, at this point, are you bonding with your fellow soldiers? Is this
Just met
starting
them.
to?
Not all of them at July went south.
Oh, okay.
And not all of them went out to
Yeah.
LZ Liz.
Okay.
But some of them did, and I met a fellow from Bethel,
Oh,
Connecticut.
really? Okay.
Yeah, we became friends, George Stuanowski.
Okay, good.
And George and I, we're in different squads, but we saw enough of each other.
Good.
And especially when we got back on Liz for that 1 week,
Yeah.
where we'd have downtime, just pull guard duty,
Yeah.
didn't have to roam around in the bush. But when we were out there on patrols, we went on things called snakes. And snakes were ambushes at night. We were responsible to keep the North Vietnamese Army and Viet Cong out of what we referred to as the Rice Bowl.
Okay.
This was the #1 place in Vietnam that produced rice. So these enemy types would come in, load up with rice, or attempt to,
Yeah.
and bring it back to feed their soldiers.
Yeah,
So we were always trying to discourage them from
yes,
doing so.
yes, because that was used to feed the South Vietnamese and your troop.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Well, fortunately, we got occasional hot meals that came out, but we did C rations and K rations and that sort of thing. And so it was nice to get back on Liz on occasion
Yeah.
because that was hot meals, served
Yeah,
buffet
yeah.
style.
All right, so when you're on snake patrol and so on,
Yes.
when you stop for the night or for where are you located? Or do you have a hooch? Do you have is it all mobile? Every place a different every night a different place.
We would set up in obscure places in the bush, literally, and be covered with either plants or trees or bushes.
Oh my. And what did you carry with you?
We had with us, first let me tell you what we didn't have with
Okay.
us. We had coverage from the artillery in case we wanted to call in a strike just ahead of us or saw a large group.
Yeah.
So we had those guys to back us up. On call would be a Cobra helicopter, which had the miniguns and that sort of thing, if we got in
Ambush.
serious trouble. But mainly it was 1, 2, or 3 people we would see walking through. So we'd set up about 15 yards ahead our Claymore mines, which when they exploded, they only went forward.
Okay.
They didn't come back
Back
toward
to-
us, so
okay.
it would have been too close.
Yeah.
As that goes. But our M16 rifles, our M60 machine guns, and occasionally we'd have to discourage somebody.
Yeah. Like how heavy were the things you were, and were you in swampy, was it hard to walk with all this on your back?
We had on an average, each person had about 70 pounds in their rucksack, which is a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Considering you're walking in 95-degree weather on the average. Our ability to bathe was walking through a stream, and when we got out, we had bathed.
Yeah.
That's the extent that we couldn't really take an official shower
Yeah,
or
yeah.
do anything like that. So that was pretty much it. The #1 thing that we wanted out there, dry socks. Because if you recall, it rains 6 months out of the year, and 6 months of my duty in the field was sleeping in an inch of water.
Wow.
And it's a memory that I'll never forget and
Yeah.
appreciate everything that I have these days.
Yeah. When you went out on, how many days in a row would you be out and then come back?
21 days, 3
20
weeks.
Wow.
3 weeks would be out there and then rotate with another company that
Yeah.
was coming out of their week on Liz
Wow.
and be there.
And how many people in the company?
Traditionally, ideally, a company is about 200 men. We topped out, I think, at 140.
Okay.
There were casualties, there were people that were wounded and killed, sadly.
And with the people who survived, did you stay with the same company for that
The
whole
whole time, yes,
Okay.
the whole time.
All right, so what was that like, building the reliance on one another?
It was very important, and we came to know each other, even though the captains and lieutenants said, don't make friends. Don't make a friend of anybody. You can help someone, but don't be endearing to them or get close to them, emotionally, because they could, be dead
Yeah.
at any point in time.
And did you
Living
take
with
that to heart?
Not somewhat, about halfway.
Okay.
You have to have some bonding with the guys that are in your group and knew exactly that he's gonna have the machine gun, he's gonna have the
walkie-talkie.
Yes, or the radio,
Yeah.
or the RTO, the radio telephone operator, as that would go. So you had bonds, but not really close friendships, and you never said, well, when I see you back home,
Yeah.
we'll have to get together
Yeah.
for a dinner.
Okay.
Uh,
No.
It didn't go that far.
Okay. someone had said, whom I interviewed, that they realized that the first thing they learned in the service was that they were one part of a whole and not an individual. Like it was the success and the dependent on this whole operating together. Did you? How do you
Get that
react to
feeling.
that? Did
Yeah.
you? Yeah.
Yes, most certainly. We had a fellow who was very good at walking at point when we were going out on patrols. That's the first position
Okay.
of someone who's checking out for booby traps, which, by the way, we were the most booby-trapped area in Vietnam.
Really? Oh, wow.
At one point in time, a fella in front of me stepped on one, and I stood there in a shower of blood. And at another point in time, the fella behind me. So God has a plan.
Yeah.
That maybe I'm going to get out of here. We depended on certain people that were assigned to certain duties to do that.
Yeah.
And knock on wood, all the guys in my squad and my company were very responsible in fulfilling
Good.
those requirements. They knew that if they didn't do their job,
Yeah.
there'd be a hole in our defense.
Wow. How about your commanders? Do any ones from that time stand out to you, either for positive or maybe not so positive influences?
The best commanders, and we had 2 captains over the course
Okay.
of our year, said to us, the fellows that had been there a while, tell me what you've learned about this area. And were receptive, other than what West Point taught them,
Okay.
or in
yeah.
addition to what West Point taught them, the idiosyncrasies of the enemy.
So that made you feel
That made me feel more
valuable,
confident.
yeah.
It made other guys feel confident. I listened when I first got there. I may have been gung-ho in some way. They said, no, don't kick rocks. Could be a booby trap.
Yeah.
Always have a buddy when you have some duty to do out there in the bush.
Yeah.
So you take those things to heart, that they've survived this long, you're going to listen to what they say. So the commanders were very good, and my buddy George Suwanowski, who
Yeah.
I saw
Yeah.
fairly often, was very receptive to information as well, and to
Good.
learn what it took.
Good.
Yeah, so those are the guys we respected, and the sergeants that had been in wars before Vietnam
Yeah.
were hopefully receptive too. We told them what we thought, that all sounds good to do that, by the book, but it's not reality out here.
Yeah. All right, you went in as a draftee, as most everyone else, so the biggest percentage of people
Oh
with
yeah,
whom you
a
served.
majority.
Was there a resentfulness about that? That was obvious, or did by the time you were there? I mean, what was that like?
There were a lot of guys that did not want to go for the first reason of they thought it was not a winnable war, and that got political to some degree. Guys that had left wives and children, they got drafted, that weren't in college, and felt that, I'm putting my life out there for something I don't believe in. And there were numerous other reasons too, that, fellas were just afraid
Yeah.
and wouldn't perform duty and tried to apply for conscientious objector. But you had to have a religious history
Yeah.
with that to get that approved. Everyone tried it, and then it got rejection.
Yeah.
There was no history of it. So there was a lot of that, but once you got through your training and knew you had to be there, and weren't going to go to Canada or go AWOL or desert, which is after 30 days. If you
Okay.
were out longer than that, it's called desertion. You could go to jail for a long time. So that motivated a lot of guys to stay in line. And finally learned that it was going to be something I need to do as part of a team,
Yeah.
like a football team.
Did you get care packages and letters from home?
Yes.
All right, anything
Yes.
was so memorable? Did you get food? Did it survive? And
I'll tell you exactly what we got. That was one of the highlights of being there. First, let me tell you that my grandfather, who was still alive at the time, sent me our hometown newspaper every day that it was published and every day that I was
Wow.
there. So I read the news.
that's
It was amazing.
wonderful.
And passed it around, a lot of Connecticut
Yeah.
guys still, not too far away from me.
Oh,
It was
great.
amazing that he had done that. And that's where I came to learn that there was this little music fair in August up in Woodstock, New York.
Yeah.
We had landed on the moon,
Right. Yes.
July,
Yeah.
I think a week after I got there. And the third thing is my beloved Mets, who had suffered through for 7 years, had won the World Series. I said, that has to be made up.
Yeah, I think. Wow, that was amazing.
And I guess the pièce de résistance was around December. We had a little radio that listened to American military broadcasts. And I had dabbled in rock and roll, being a musician for a short while before I went in. I liked Pink Floyd,
Yeah.
Santana, heavier types of music. And they said, the number one song of the year. I said, it's got to be The Who. And they said, Sugar, Sugar by the Archers.
You said no.
I said, well, I got to get back and make a contribution to that after. So that was kind of entertaining. But my sister, and this would only be delivered to us when we were on Liz,
Yeah.
because we couldn't take
Right.
part of these care packages there, so they'd hold them for us. And a couple of guys got packages regularly, and my sister would make brownies.
Oh, yeah.
And then pack everything in popcorn, and we didn't care it was stale. So it was literally popcorn. Then.
Oh, wow.
It may have been giving somebody an idea at some point. So that, and of course letters. And I'll tell you a quick side story that I received a happy Merry Christmas letter from a little girl in 6th grade from Connecticut, from a place I'd never heard of, Wilson, Connecticut. So when I got back, eventually, we have more to talk about in country, but when I got back, I said, I want to surprise that little girl. I want to go visit her wherever she is. And I took my brand new, which I saved for, and my grandmother had given me some money, my 1969 Dodge Charger.
Oh,
My baby.
Oh, what color?
Blue.
Oh, nice.
That sky blue
Ooh,
look.
nice.
Nice
Yeah.
with torque flight,
Oh,
leather seats.
meow.
I drove up there, her parents didn't tell her, and I walked in my uniform, and she was shocked and amazed, and asked all kinds of questions. Where are you from? So glad that you made it. And that was a nice thing that I had as an experience from a letter that got to me in Nam from a little girl back in the States. So that was a wonderful thing.
That was it. Did you do R&R?
Yes, I did. I wanted to go to Australia and I wanted to go to Hawaii. Both were full. They said, well, Thailand's available. I said, no, that's just like this. I've had enough of Nook Mom, or stay away from that stuff, which is fermented fish for 30 days in the sun.
Okay.
They said, Tokyo's open. And I went to Tokyo and got an
interesting.
experience there for a week.
Oh.
Took the bullet train in from
Oh.
camp, and I forget the name of it. Was it Drum? No, it's not Drum. But from the camp we landed in. It was just like a small, not small, bigger than New York City. But the area I got to visit was a small area.
Oh,
I couldn't go out that far,
Yeah.
and only had so much money. And I remember being at a cocktail hour in the hotel, and over beyond the bar was a beautiful young lady that was playing organ, and that's what I had played.
Oh.
So I told my interpreter that I would love to go home, get my organ, come back and play with her. And he said, no, you don't want to do that. I don't understand. He says, well, culturally, that means you want to marry her.
Oh.
I didn't understand that,
Yeah.
but he made the point.
Okay.
And I said, well, okay, we won't pursue that idea. And at another point in time, before we were having a dinner with a whole bunch of people, didn't know any of them, the interpreter said, well, there's a tradition that says you have to drink 2 shots of sake before dinner. And it didn't dawn on me till much later that that was just to get everybody a little more social.
And relax.
So I was learning culture
Yes,
in Japan.
yes.
And got a taste of the country.
Oh, that's great.
And it was a fun visit. I bought a brand new pair of socks because socks, as I said,
Yeah.
were important.
Yeah.
I got them back to Nam. Got back to the field. My company was in the bush at that point in time, and put on my new socks, and everything was wonderful, nice and dry. And the next morning I woke up and I said, my feet itch. I said, what's going on? And I pulled my socks down, and right from the line of where my socks were up to
Yeah.
on my leg, there were bumps. And they said, Valenti, you gotta go back to the rear and see the doctor. And I went back to the rear and he said, you may think you have bought new socks, but you have athlete's foot now.
No.
They came with that in it.
Oh my God.
Apparently they weren't new, repackaged, I guess. Now, I have size 13, 5E feet. And they had to give me size 14 boots to accommodate for my width.
Yeah.
And one of my friends, George, coined the idea. He says, let Valenti walk point. If he doesn't hit a mine or a booby trap, no one will.
Make those feet useful.
So the doctor said, how long have your feet been swollen? And they weren't swollen. Now, if I was smart, I would have said, oh, just from last night. And I could have stayed in the back and the swelling would never have gone down.
Yeah.
And it would have been permanent duty in the rear. And but I was honest,
Yeah.
and he said, "You're not swollen. That's me." And I went back to duty about a week later out there.
Oh.
So that's another highlight I had from Japan.
Yeah. Oh my. Oh, that was.
Be careful.
Yeah. All right. So at the end of your tour, you came back to, where did you come back from?
Interestingly enough, we got on a jet plane in Cam Bay,
Yeah.
where I'd started out. All those places to come back through.
Yeah.
And when we got out a little ways, the pilot came on the speaker and said, "We just want to let everybody know that we are now out of rocket range. So we're safe."
Yeah. And the cheers went up.
And the cheers went up, and we were singing, "We Got to Get Out of This Place" by
Oh,
the Animals,
yeah.
and "Leaving on a Jet Plane" by Peter, Paul,
yeah.
and Mary.
Oh,
I'll never
wow.
forget that moment.
Yeah.
Very happy, and came back to Seattle.
Oh,
eventually.
okay.
Yeah. Then I said, "I'm going to be home in one day." No, you're not, because the pilots were on strike. And fortunately, they ended it that day.
Oh,
and I got on the plane the next day.
Oh.
And George...
Was George with you?
George was with me. Coincidentally, we didn't plan it, but you know,
Good.
God.
Oh.
Now we can be friends.
Yeah.
And we got back to Newark Airport. His father said, "My father's coming. You don't need to have anybody come down.
Yeah.
And he'll give us a ride back, because I'm only about a half hour north of you,
Yeah.
and he'll drop you off." And I said, "Great." So we got back and dropped us off in front of the house. It was midnight. And
Did you surprise your folks, or?
Yes.
Oh, my.
But I said to George before I left the car, I said, we'll be in touch, we'll see you soon, because we'd exchanged information. And I knocked on the front door, and Dad got up, couldn't imagine who it was, thought it was something going on, and woke the whole house up. My sister, my brother, and my mother was last to come down. And tears of joy all around, I'm crying, they're crying. Are you hungry? Well, not really, you know, I want a nice bed.
Yeah.
It doesn't have water in it.
Oh, yeah.
And
Was your room the same?
no, there'd been some arrangements over the year, but that's okay. I didn't care if I slept on the couch.
Yeah.
I was home.
Yeah.
But I shared a room with my brother
Okay.
at that point.
Wow.
So,
As one person as opposed to
Yes.
120 other people.
Yes.
Whatever.
yes, exactly right.
So how did serving in the military shape the rest of your life? Did it shape career-wise? Did it shape how you approach life in particular ways?
It didn't shape my career, but it did shape the way I approach certain things. That when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. When someone depends on me, they can depend on me. And not everyone around me is astute about being on time as I am.
Okay.
I will leave an hour early for a 20-minute ride in case there's something between me and there. So the military gave me that way of thinking.
Do you have a neat closet?
Do I have any what?
A neat closet.
Oh,
I mean,
yes, as a matter of fact. Yes, I do.
Okay, good.
Not all the time, but, you know, maybe
You
some
have
socks are on the
standards.
floor. But yes, I try to keep an organized set of clothes.
Beautiful. What would you always want people who didn't serve to know about what it meant to you to serve?
That there's a certain pride that goes along with it, leaving the political aside, because there's always that argument of that time, and not being recognized very much at that time.
Yeah, when you came home, you did not come home to glory.
No. Fortunately, Seattle was not that bad, but Los Angeles was really hard for a lot of guys.
Okay. Yeah.
There's someone I know that still won't walk in a parade because of how he was treated when he came home
Wow.
through Los Angeles. But you know, that's it. So I would I'd want people to know that we didn't create the war, but we served our country when it called for us. None of us wanted to go, but it was our duty to go. And once we recognized that we were trying to make a better life for the South Vietnamese and not have communism take over, that was a motivational thing that kept me going as well. And I want to let people know that that's what we were fighting for, even though it might not have been done as effectively as it should have, and I won't get into all that. But my mother once commented when I had gotten home, and she said, "Michael, I kept seeing the occasional letter that you would get, and now there's a 2-week difference between when I'm writing and when they're getting it." Said, "I see you going in circles, and you come back to the same place." Now, she's a World War II person.
Yeah.
You take land,
And
then you got the land.
Right, and so.
She didn't understand that. And I said, "Well, here's what was going on, Mom. We were just trying to discourage people to the degree we needed to when we were there."
Now, you're involved with the VFW and American Legion. What has that meant for you?
The American Legion, at this point in time, I don't have enough of me to spread around to be VFW at the moment.
Okay.
Was a member, nothing personal. It was more effective for me to become part of the American Legion, and I'm the service officer, which is who people call when they need to be directed to a certain service or a need.
Oh, excellent.
I line them up with
yes.
them.
Oh,
Tell
beautiful.
them about an electrician that does work for free tell them about, various construction companies that will build a ramp
Oh, wonderful.
for you if you are in need of it.
Yeah.
That you can get hearing aids free now, you can get glasses free. You can get all kinds of things that are done, knee replacements, at no charge. Maybe there's a small copay for some,
Yeah.
but that's what the American Legion does, and I am always learning something about other vets that are members, about their history
Oh,
and what they did and where they were. And some guys feel a little guilty that they didn't pull active duty, but were in the service.
Yes.
Or I should say military, combat duty.
Right, right.
And I say, do not feel that way. You served your country. You went to where you're supposed to be. I bless anyone that had lighter duty than I did. Being that guy out in the bush with the steel pod helmet, 70-pound rucksack, M16, walking through the jungle, trying to discourage NVA and VC. So that's the point I make to them, and want people to know that.
And when people say, Michael, thank you for your service, how do you feel?
Twofold. There's two things that come to mind. The first thing is, I think of all those that gave the ultimate sacrifice for their country. I'd like to see the national anthem last line changed. Home of the free because of the brave. I would have no problem with saying that one day. So that's the first thing that comes to mind. And people are congratulating me on Memorial Day. I say, that's not for me today. That's for the guys that passed. And then the second thing is, it's nice to hear it, even a number of years later. Now I got a phone call from George Stuanowski's daughter, and she said, sadly, Dad passed away last year. I had gotten to see him once before that, and we were making plans again. It only took 42 years for us to get together, when we were going to see each other fairly often, being so close. But George was in Florida, and she said, we've taken a year to go through the process of getting Dad into Arlington Cemetery. We'd love to have you there.
Oh, Michael.
And I said, I'd love to be there. Only a little bit of a problem. I've got a very bad knee that I can't do much walking on, and it's going to be replaced. And second thing is, COVID is still fairly active, and the variant. This was August.
Yeah.
And I said,
Concerned about this.
would you mind if I wrote something about our duty together over there? And wrote a 3-page story for her to have.
Good.
And got that to her.
Good.
So George has met his maker, and at least we got to see each other once.
Good. Oh, that's good. Michael, thank you. Is there anything else you want people to know?
You are so welcome. That the military did not influence my career. I am a professional disc jockey
Okay.
and have done radio commercials and live performance for weddings and parties and things, and I'm still doing it.
This is awesome. And what did you think of Robin Williams in Good Morning Vietnam?
I thought it very entertaining, and wish I could have been within radio distance of the show. Of Adrian.
Oh, yes. Oh, Adrian something. I don't remember.
I forget his name.
character's name. Yeah.
But it was a great entertaining movie.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that.
That was good. That was good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna
I'll look forward.